Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining my channel once again. So, I wanted to share a situation that happened to me earlier this evening. And I want to start off by stating, and trust me, this has something to do with the story, but I was recently diagnosed with a condition called Lipin 1. That's Lipin 1. Another term for it would be exercise induced myotonia. It basically has something to do with the deterioration of muscle. There's no cure for the disease. It's a rare genetic gene mutation. And the reason I was tested for it was because about 4 years ago, I literally could not run anymore. Um, being in the military, you have to run a mile and a half under a certain amount of time or within a certain amount of time. So I've never had an issue with it. It's never been a problem for me. And it has nothing to do with stamina. But 4 years ago, I realized that I couldn't run for more than a minute, which was very alarming. And I just recently found out the reason behind it. I have, the Lipin 1 condition. So, with that being said, it doesn't just, it affects my legs, but it affects eventually all of your muscles, and it causes a lot of pain. And so I did have to inform the ex-narc just because we share children, and since it's a genetic condition, I had to share that information with him because, our children now have to go for testing because, it's a high probability that one of them or all of them could be carrying the same gene. So, with him knowing this information and knowing that, it affects my legs at this time for the most part. And anything that has to do with running, going up the stairs, anything like that, it affects my legs tremendously. I mean, I'm in a lot of pain. Um, it's nothing to say, it's nothing to feel sorry for me about. I can still get around easily, if I'm just walking. And it affects others a lot rapidly or um, a lot faster than others. So I'm just blessed that I can still get around. It's not like I'm wheelchair bound. But with him knowing this now, he stays on the third floor of an apartment. And I told him in advance, hey, I'm coming to get the girls, our twins, so that they can get their swimming lessons done. And so he said, okay, fine. Got off the phone, act like, everything was everything. So I pull up to the apartment complex, and I sent a text message and said, I'm here. And mind you, he, being that he's on the third floor, the right thing to do, since I was there to pick him up, would be for him to walk the girls down, uh, to get him to my vehicle so we could go. And I was already in a time crunch, so I really needed them to honestly be standing right there when I pulled up. So anyway, I sent a text message saying, "Hey, I'm downstairs. Can you bring them down?" No response. Um, and sometimes he'll send our son instead, since he's their big brother, their older brother. He'll sometimes send him down with the girls to walk them down, just so that they're not walking by themselves, which makes sense. Um, so he never answered the text message. And so I'm waiting, and I'm like, okay, let me just give him a call. So I called, didn't pick up. I called like 3, 4 more times just to make sure, and he let it ring the whole time and let it go, eventually go to the voicemail. By that time, I already knew he was forcing me to get out of the vehicle and walk up all 3 flights of stairs to come and get the girls. Very, very petty. I mean, and honestly, it did upset me and, just a little bit, but I did what I had to do. He knew that it's important for me to get the girls to swim lessons on time, and he knew that I wasn't going to risk them being late. So if that meant him having to ignore my calls and text messages, then so be it. He knew I would eventually come upstairs, which I did just because I didn't, I didn't want to be late. I didn't want my girls to be late. I don't know. It just pissed me off, honestly. I just want to share that. It's just maddening what these narcissistic people do, and they know exactly what they're doing, these evil beings. And yeah, I'm sure he wanted me to come up there and give him a piece of my mind because, you know, honestly, if I was that person, thankfully I've grown a lot since learning of this disorder, and I definitely do not react. I respond if I have to, but I never made I never told him anything about it. I never said, "Hey, that wasn't right to have me come up these stairs, being that the condition that I suffer from, yada yada yada," because that would have just given him more fuel. It would have definitely made his night to hear me talk about how, much pain I was in due to his, you know, lack of empathy and whatnot. So that was another day in the life of having to deal with the ex narc because of our children. And if you all have any stories like that, or have experienced dealing with someone who clearly knew that you were struggling with something in some way, it doesn't have to be physical, but they went out of their way to make it harder for you, put it down in the comments, and I'd love to read them, and others would love to as well, so that people can get a clearer picture, if you haven't uh gotten it by this point, just how devious these narcissists are. So I'll leave it at that. You all have a good night, and I will see you all in the next video.